Hello YouTubers, I want to do an update and share a little information and some results with the winter greenhouse. This is the addition. You can see how big the greenhouse was previously and how we've expanded it, and we're going to go ahead and plywood this side and insulate this side just like we did, but it was early spring when we got this going, so we just put plastic on it for now. Small winter greenhouse, I guess we count it as a success. Mike and his family ate greens, kale, chard, spinach, and lettuce all winter with the greenhouse, and we did use it. We started 200 tomato plants. Out of those 200 tomato plants, we selectively breed them, and I don't think enough people pay attention to the stock or breeding those tomato plants as they should. Well, what am I talking about, breeding a tomato plant? What I'm talking about is that we deliberately pick those plants which are our big producers, that are healthiest plants, and we even take the biggest fruit off of those plants, and we save that fruit. You might say we sacrifice that fruit, right? We don't eat it. We save that fruit and make sure that that's the one we use for seed next year. And over a period of 2 or 3 years, selecting those plants that are your big producers and early bloomers will increase your production, and you'll get to know the plant itself. You'll know how many days exactly it comes into bloom, what it looks like when it's healthy. Another thing, tip that I wanted to share was potting soil and compost. I'm going to show you some tomatoes, and you can take a shot of tomatoes out there. Now those tomatoes, in the back half back there, we laid down mulch leaves. Let's walk down there and I'll talk as we walk. We laid down mulch leaves down here and over the back half of that, and then took soil that we had put chicken manure and biochar in, and made piles on top of those leaves beds, and grew those back tomatoes. And these tomatoes in this front half are the same age, so they're just grown in the dirt that's there and available. They're the same age and was all started. By the way, these plants were started in that winter greenhouse December 29th. And I think today is 17th of May. And I want just proof of the pudding, I want to show you something here. On 17th of May, right there is a green tomato. So we
see that again, we didn't see it.
Oh, you didn't see the green tomato?
No.
Right there's the green tomato. So those plants were started December 29th, and here it is the 17th of May. We started 200 plants. We picked out the best 50 and planted them back there on top of the leaves, and then we picked out the best, the rest of them, and planted, there's 75 of them here total. These plants should yield somewhere between 50 and 80 pounds apiece, but you can really tell the difference in those that have the biochar and the leaves as a base versus those the same age that does not. Let me show you another little thing that we added here. Get a fish to stop right there. So I don't know if you can see it, the camera picks it up, but that's a row of fence, a 6-inch squares there.
Let me change my angle so I can see it.
And we tied that to them trees. And this dirt pile here has a bunch of old brush and wood that we cut up, piled up here, and then this dirt has biochar and chicken poop mixed in with it, and as that wood decomposes, it will continue to feed this garden. And what we have planted on it is we got beans and cucumbers, and when those begin to run, that runs up that fence there between those trees, and it just creates a wall of produce right there. So we're interested to see what that looks like when it's done. And there's our strawberry raised bed there, and you see those lines going up the corners. Well, that's a pole bean at the corner here. That's a pole bean, and we'll get those pole beans running up those strings and growing up that pyramid there. And then you see we got berries going there. And come on up on the porch. Showing me here back again. So Mike's wife doesn't get around really good, so we wanted to be able to give her a fresh herb garden that we can sit out here in the springtime. So we did it in pots, and then in the winter springtime, we can transfer these right into the greenhouse and continue growing these all winter. And also to make it easy for her to access, is we built these raised beds and screwed them down on top of the handrails here. And so just some of the stuff we got here. We got lemon balm, and we got thyme. This is a pot of dill, pot of cilantro. There's some watercress. Here's one that we keep on the porch for. That we plant one of these every couple months, and it just keeps this lettuce perpetual here. A few more varieties of lettuce. Oh, one other thing I want to say about compost. I want to give you guys a big secret about compost here, and I challenge you guys to try it. You know, I've bought it and looked at it. Sometimes you get that compost that's not broke down really good, and I heard that leaves are really great. There's a TED Talks about how leaves are a great composting material, and obviously how good they've grown out there with the leaves as an additive. And just as a proof in the pudding, come on out, I got one more thing to show you. So we had a really kind of a low-end plant that wasn't it wasn't up to par, right? So we've got a small compost pile over here. There's some onions, they're coming up good. We got a small compost pile over here, and this small compost pile, I just dug a hole in these leaves here, put some dirt in there, and planted that tomato plant. And that was a small plant, and it was a sickly plant. And I just put some potting soil in that hole that I dug in those leaves, and then planted that plant there. And look how green and healthy that plant is. Really, you know, like I said, it's May 17th. It's a nice looking plant there. Really dark green, really rich, growing good. Yeah, you see the potatoes in here. That's a volunteer potato. So stuff that we're throwing in the compost garden, we can't even keep it from growing. And when we can't keep it from growing like that, that's a survivor. We want to pick that plant and we want to grow on that plant, because you can't keep that plant from growing. So that's the ones you want to be growing. You know, those are the hardy plants. So this compost trick I keep talking about. Go to the woods. I challenge you to go to the woods anywhere like there's a good leaf blanket underneath the trees, or there's a lot of good oak trees, and rake back that top layer and get to that black layer underneath that leaves. It's 4 to 6 inches deep. Put that in a 5-gallon bucket. That soft, fluffy, black soil that's underneath those leaves there. Take that home and see if that's not the best compost you've ever grew in. I think it is, hands down. And it's just everywhere. You can just go get it free and just rake the leaves back and pick some of it up, get it in buckets, and then put the leaves back, and it just continues to decompose, and it's not really interrupting the environment or anything. So, yeah. The plastic did get brittle here. We've got to show our failures as well as our successes. And it's not really a failure. What it was is it was getting hot this spring, and we spent so much energy getting this, keeping this cool, that we started, you know, cutting holes in the plastic and it got brittle, as you can see. But we've got enough money now. We're going to go polycarbonate all the way across. So over this next season, we're going to be going polycarbonate. And you see, these is just the last of the tomato plants. We're still watering them. We don't know why. We've got out everything we need. We've given them away to all of our friends. We've even sold a few, and we still have more tomato plants than we need. And this, pretty much everything that you see here, all these plants came from 2 tomatoes. Right? There was 2 tomatoes that we saved. It was the biggest plants, biggest producers last year that we saved, and all these come from this year. And we're going to selectively select the seeds for next year too.
Out of those 2 plants, or the 2 tomatoes we used produced, how many plants do you say we have planted in that garden, and inside that we have cloned?
Oh, well, 200. We started 200 total plants, and we planted the best 50, and then we planted the best 25 more, and then sold a few, and yeah. So 75 plants at 50 to 80 pounds a piece. That's plenty of tomatoes, or for a family of 4 or 5. Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of do a quick update and kind of share that information about, you know, Mendel was the guy who discovered, or kind of wrote the book, or considered the grandfather on genetics. And Mendel grew peas, and he's the first guy to kind of go into dominant recessive or recessive recessive or whatever. He's the guy that kind of started genetics. It was all started when he bred peas and what color the peas come out. And so you can selectively breed plants just like you can animals, and it's really kind of a law lost art and something that people don't think about anymore. And the more generations you get invested into it, the hardier and the better production your plants will do. Anyway, guys, well, thanks for watching.